I thought I would do a second video today, coming to you from the center of Cyprus, the capital, Nicosia, and we have quite a lot of stories to get to, so let's get to it. The first story that I want to talk about, the bit of news that came out earlier today, was the fact that this Slovakia S300 system that the EU was so proud of smuggling into Ukraine, that they got it into Ukraine. This was going to be the big decisive weapon that would bring down the Putin regime, this S300 that Slovakia was donating to the Zelensky regime's cause, got annihilated by Russia. They took it out in an area right outside of the city of Dnipro, or Dnipropetrovsk, which is kind of center east if you're looking at Ukraine, towards the center east. And yeah, they took this S300 and they blew it apart. And it's pretty embarrassing for the EU and for the collective West to have had this happen, especially because they were, so proud of themselves for getting this S300 system into Ukraine. They had videos of it moving from Slovakia through Europe and into the west of Ukraine, and making its way over to the front lines. And once it parked where it was meant to be used, I imagine in the battle for Donbass, the Russians just took it out real quick. And so, I mean, it's interesting that you have all of this weaponry. Kind of, it seems that you have this weaponry making its way over to the east of Ukraine. You have like van der Leyen and Borrell and Boris Johnson and all these leaders, making their way to Kiev. You have this weaponry, this heavy weaponry, making its way to Donbass. It's really interesting that you have this going on. I mean, the Russians are saying that they're taking out a lot of this heavy weaponry. There are some other analysts who are saying that no, this weaponry is making its way over to the Donbass. It's going to be used by the Ukraine military that's stuck in the cauldron to make their final stand. Zelensky saying that the Ukraine military that is encircled in the east is also going to come out victorious. We'll see. We'll see. I don't see how that's going to happen, but even Jake Sullivan said that they're providing weapons to those fighters in the Donbass and in Ukraine. Every single day they're getting weapons from west to east. One would get the impression that things are moving pretty easily from Poland to Kiev and onwards, but who knows? I mean, only the Russians and the Ukrainians and the Pentagon, I guess they're the only ones that really know what's going on. I mean, there are a lot of analysts who are saying that the Russians are just blowing everything apart. If they're not blowing everything apart, then they're taking everything. Like, they've got, from what I understand, Russia now has one of the largest inventories of javelin missiles in the world. I'm exaggerating that a bit, but I mean, they've just taken so much military hardware from the Ukraine military that it's pretty ridiculous how many javelin missiles they now have in their inventory. We'll see. I mean, the fog of war. We really don't know what's happening. We do know that a lot of leaders are making their way over to Kiev. They're doing it pretty easily. Obviously, Russia's letting them make their way over, but it's just an observation. I mean, Russia definitely wants those leaders to meet with Zelensky, and they want Zelensky to have a legitimacy, because when they get him to sign the surrender papers, no one's going to be able to say, oh, well, we don't recognize Zelensky as the leader of Ukraine. That's not going to be possible, because they've got all the videos of him hanging out with Boris Johnson, his friend, Boris Johnson, or Boris Johnson said, my friend, Zelensky. But, we've got the videos, we've got the photos. We got van der Leyen when she was in Kiev saying that they're going to fast track Ukraine's membership into the EU. I wouldn't be surprised if they get Ukraine into the EU by June, July. If Ukraine exists, or whatever the state of Ukraine is going to mean by then. But I wouldn't be surprised if the EU does that. They're fast-tracking NATO membership for Finland and Sweden. We had another statement from Stoltenberg today who said that Finland's going to be ready by June. Their application will be ready to be submitted, and then it'll only be a couple of months before Finland's a full member of NATO. And after that, Sweden's on deck. So I've been talking about this for quite a while now, and it looks like it's happening. Sweden and Finland will be part of NATO by, say, I don't know, Finland maybe by September, October. Sweden probably by Christmas time, December, maybe January. It looks like that's a done deal. I talked earlier today as well about the Chancellor of Austria meeting with Putin. That meeting is taking place right now. Obviously, the Austrian Chancellor was sent to meet with Putin by Olaf Scholz, by Germany, by various people in the EU. I'm sure he wants to figure out a way to get Putin to sign up for a Minsk III agreement, because there are certain leaders in the European Union who see the writing on the wall, and they understand that no matter how much spin and propaganda Zelensky and the scriptwriters in DC and Hollywood and in the UK put out there, at the end of the day, the Ukraine project is going to collapse. And the European Union is going to try to figure out a way to pull a Merkel circa 2015 and try to get Putin to sign up to another a Minsk III. But I don't think Putin's going to fall for that. I don't think so. But another thing that the Chancellor of Austria is going to definitely try to figure out on behalf of Germany and Europe, and Austria as well. Austria gets 80% of their gas from Germany, is how to figure out a way to prevent or to stall the Russians from cutting off the gas, eventually cutting off the gas to Europe, or eventually making a system where they only accept rubles, none of this foreign currency, then will exchange it for rubles scheme. So they're trying to figure out a way perhaps to convince Putin to keep the gas flowing for at least another year and a half, 2 years. There are a lot of studies in Europe right now, especially in Germany, which are saying that they may have been able to figure out a way to wean Germany off of Russian energy, including natural gas, by 2024. Though they're admitting that the Germans are going to have to struggle. They're going to have to get a lot poorer. Things are going to be very, very difficult. At the end of the day, they're saying maybe we can get away from Russian energy by 2024, the middle to the end of 2024. I think that's being very, very optimistic. And of course, what they're not telling the German people is that that's going to probably mean a lot of cold showers, a lot of cold homes, a lot of business closures, and a huge spike in just about everything you pay for. Not only your energy bill, but also your food bill and just about everything. Expect to pay 10 to 20 times more for just about everything. That's the part that these studies are not telling the Germans, or the Europeans in general. I mean, all of Europe's going to pay a heavy price for a country that, up until now, once again, I always say this, all this suffering that, not that the Ukrainian people aren't suffering, they're suffering the most, but the suffering that the Europeans are going to have to endure on the economic front is all being done for a country which is not in the European Union and is not a part of NATO. But maybe it will be part of the European Union if Ursula von der Leyen has her way, and come, say, June, July, Ukraine is given a super duper fast track into the EU. And then things are going to get a lot worse for the European Union. I mean, a lot worse, having to deal with Ukraine as being a part of of its membership. Boy, are things going to get really bad then. But at least then you won't be able to say, well, why should we go through these sanctions as European Union citizens for a country that's not in the EU? Then come July or August, we'll be saying, including myself, I'll be saying, well, we're having to undergo all this inflation and energy difficulties and the burning of coal plants. Do you know that Greece is now firing up all their coal factories again? All of their coal factories now are going to get restarted in order to deal with Putin's war, as they call it. In order to not fuel Putin's war, they're going to restart all the coal factories in Greece. So yeah, I guess in July or August, in my videos then, I'll be saying, we have to go through all of this because Ukraine is now a part of the European Union. So solidarity for the EU then. Clown world, everybody, clown world. I do have a clown world actually to get to as well. It has to deal with Germany. It's a short one, but it deals with Germany. So the Chancellor of Austria, we'll see how that meeting goes. Let's see what happens there. Lavrov, before the Chancellor of Austria made his way to Moscow before the meeting, Lavrov came out with some statements. And this is what Lavrov said. Let me pull up his quote, because he said some very, very interesting things here. A very tough stance from Lavrov and from Medvedev. Medvedev actually said that the Europeans are the Europeans that are always talking about green energy and the environment and all of this stuff. Medvedev was poking fun at them, saying, for all the talk of environment and green that the EU dishes out, it's very funny to see EU countries now firing up their coal factories again. And now they're burning coal. So Medvedev was poking fun at them. But Lavrov said in a statement that the Russian special operation in Ukraine aims to put an end to the U.S. course for world domination. This is what Lavrov said in an interview to Russian media. So this is for the Russian public ahead of the Austrian Chancellor's meeting with Putin in Moscow. That was Lavrov's statement, very tough statement. And then he said this. He said, and I quote, "Our special military operation is meant to put an end to the unabashed expansion of NATO and the unabashed drive towards full domination by the U.S. and its Western subjects on the world stage. The domination is built on gross violations of international law and under some rules which they are now hyping so much and which they make up on a case-by-case basis." Keep in mind, this was on Russian TV, so this is meant to be consumed by the Russian citizen, by the Russian market. Of course, Lavrov knows that this is going to go all over the international press, and he knows that the German chancellor is also going to see this. Before he meets with Putin, he's probably going to say, oh crap, it's not going to be easy trying to figure out a way to come to a compromise now with the Russians. That's probably what he's saying. I wouldn't be surprised if the German chancellor is going to come out of that meeting with not much to go on. Well, look, Borrell, and Lavrov was talking about Borrell. He actually mentioned Borrell's statements when he made these statements. You know, Lavrov is citing the fact that Borrell was the first one that said there is no more negotiation, there is no more chance for a ceasefire. Ukraine is going to be solved on the battlefield. Borrell's statement was actually something along the lines of the only solution to this problem is a military solution. So Lavrov was responding to Borrell's comments and obviously letting the Austrian chancellor know that if you're going to come here and try to figure out a way to sweet talk us, it's not going to work. So interesting comments from Lavrov. Actually a news story that I do want to throw out there. I don't have much to go on with this before I get to Clown World, but I always forget to talk about this. At least the last couple of videos I've forgotten about this story. It has to do with the fact that China is shipping a bunch of weapons, it seems, to Serbia. At least that's what this story seems like. I think it's the last I read was something like 6 military planes were heading from China to Serbia. I don't really have much information other than that. So let me do some legwork on that story and figure out what that's about, if I can find out what that's about. But something interesting going on there. Something very interesting going on. There's no doubt that that Serbia's position is going to have to get strengthened, I imagine, given that it's surrounded by a very hostile, aggressive, hysterical NATO. And I think that's the most dangerous part, is that NATO's become kind of hysterical. It's in panic mode. So I wonder if that has something to do with it. I don't know. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I always forget about that story. So this time I wanted to mention it. I didn't want to forget about it. And the last story is going to be Clown World. Let's do a final Clown World in this video update. This one's a short one, But this has to do with the letter Z and with Germany. So the last clown world that had to do with the letter Z in Germany was the fact that if you had the letter Z displayed in public in the towns of, I believe it was Saxony, Lower Saxony, and Bavaria, if you had the letter Z in public displays, you would get fined and possible prison sentences, prison time. Well, we now have coming out of Germany from the district of Herford, Herford, Germany, they have decided to stop issuing license plates containing the letter, you guessed it, the letter Z. So no more new license plates with the letter Z. The cancellation of Z is in full effect in Germany. So that's the clown world that I thought I would get to everybody. I think I'll leave the video there and let me get this up for you guys. So let me run off to a location nearby, somewhere nearby here. I think I know where I'm gonna go, where I'm gonna walk to. And let me get this video up. We also have a whole bunch of content as well from Alexander, from the Duran. That stuff will probably be up by the time this video goes up. So I'll leave it there. Let's see what happens with the talk between the Austrian Chancellor and Vladimir Putin. I'm not expecting much, but let's see. Diplomacy and dialogue is always preferred. Always, it's always good to sit down and talk and try to come to a solution. But given Borrell's comments, given Zelensky's comments, given the fact that Boris Johnson has warned Zelensky not to find a peace solution, and given the fact that Zelensky is at the end of the day an actor puppet, I'm not confident that much is going to come out of the meeting between the Austrian Chancellor and Putin. Anyway, that's the video, everybody. theduran.locals.com, coming to you from a windy Nicosia, Cyprus. Take care.